No matter your goals, Atomic Habits by James Clear offers you a proven path to form good habits and break bad ones. It dives deep into the concepts of the power of compounding, habit loops, environment design, and many more. At last, the author shares some advanced tactics to go from being merely good to truly great. Let's get started. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. All of us have goals which we want to achieve as early as we can, whether it is losing weight, building a business, writing a book, or just anything else. We put pressure on ourselves to make drastic improvements that everyone will talk about. This approach leads us to quit chasing that goal after early disappointments. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Too often, we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. But that's not true. Let's see the math. 1% better each day for 1 year, you end up 37 times better by the time you are done. But 1% worse each day for 1 year, you decline nearly to zero. This shows why small changes make a huge difference over the long run. Imagine you are flying from Los Angeles to New York City. If a pilot rotates the plane just 3.5 degrees south, you will land in Washington DC instead of New York. Such a small change is barely noticeable at takeoff, but creates a significant impact. Similarly, a slight change in your daily habits make a huge difference on where you are headed in the future. If you want to predict where you will end up in life, then follow the curve of tiny gains and tiny losses. It will show how your daily choices are going to compound 10 or 20 years down the line on that trajectory. Are you spending less than you earn? Are you making it into the gym each week? Are you reading books and learning something new each day? Tiny habits like these are the ones that will define your future self. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. When you start on a new behavior, this is what you think should happen. Linear progress. This is what actually happens. Notice this initial phase here. The efforts you take don't seem to take you anywhere. It is not until months or years later that you realize the true value of your previous efforts. This can result in a valley of disappointment, where people feel discouraged after putting weeks and months of hard work without seeing any result. However, your efforts are not wasted. It's not until much later that you reap the fruits of your endeavors. It's a hallmark of any compounding process. The most powerful outcomes are delayed. So the key is to be patient and consistent in your efforts. Too often, people ask us to focus on our goals. But in reality, our results have very little to do with our goals and everything to do with our systems. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. Problems with a goal-based approach. Problem 1. Winners and losers have the same goal. Successful and unsuccessful people share the same goal. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Problem 2. Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. When you solve problems at the result level, you solve them for the time being. To solve them permanently, you need a systems-based approach. Problem 3. Goals restrict your happiness. They create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve your goal and are successful, or you fail and are a disappointment. In systems-first mentality, you fall in love with the process rather than the outcome, and you can be happy anytime as long as your system is running. Problem 4. Goals are at odds with long-term progress. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. If you are a coach, your goal might be to win a championship. Your system is the way you recruit players, manage your assistant coaches, and conduct practice. Now, if you completely ignore your goals and focus only on your systems, would you still succeed? The author says you would. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. An atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. If you are having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you. The problem is your system. You repeat habits again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have wrong system for change. Remember, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. We often struggle to keep good habits and break bad ones even with sincere efforts and motivation. This is because we try to change the wrong things and we try to change our habits in the wrong way. Let's see the first reason here. There are 3 layers of behavior change. The first layer is changing your outcome. This level is concerned with changing your results, losing that weight, publishing that book, winning that championship. Most of your goals are associated with this level. The second layer is changing your process. It involves changing your habits and systems, implementing a new routine at the gym, brushing twice daily, developing a meditation practice. The third and deepest layer is changing your identity. This level is concerned with changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your judgment about yourself and others. Most of the beliefs, assumptions and biases you hold are associated with this level. Outcomes are what you get. Processes are what you do. Identity is what you believe. Most people begin the process of changing their habits by focusing on the outcomes. But the best way to change your habits is to focus on the person you wish to become. A true behavior change is identity change. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, but to become a runner. Improvements are only temporary until they become part of who you are. The 2-step process to changing your identity. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Your identity is a byproduct of your habits. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity linked with that behavior. If you go to church every Sunday, you have evidence that you are religious. If you go to the gym even when it's raining, you have the proof that you are committed to fitness. So whatever your identity is right now, you only believe it because you have proof of it. As you repeat any behavior, the evidence accumulates and your identity begins to change. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Each time you write a page, you are a writer. Each time you start a workout, you are an athlete. Each time you encourage your team, you are a leader. The most practical way to change your identity is to change what you do. Do you know why our brain builds habits? Our conscious mind is the bottleneck of our brain. The lower part of this bottle is our subconscious mind. The conscious part can focus only on one task at a time. As a result, it tries to capture as much as possible to store it and put it into the lower part of the bottle, the subconscious mind. As things store into our subconscious mind, they form as habits. Habit formation helps our brain reduce cognitive load and free up mental space to allocate our attention to other tasks. The process of building habits involves 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. First, there is the cue. Your phone buzzes with a new text message. Then there is the craving to know the contents of the message. The third step is the response. You grab your phone and read the text. At last, satisfying the craving to read the message is your reward. Thus, grabbing your phone becomes associated with your phone buzzing. Cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. Together, these 4 steps form a habit loop: cue, craving, response, and reward that ultimately allows you to create automatic habits. To form habits that last, cue, make it obvious; craving, make it attractive; response, make it easy; reward, make it satisfying. The first law: make it obvious. In order to form new habits, we must be aware of our old ones. This can be challenging because we perform them on an automated basis. The process of behavior change always starts with awareness. James proposes 2 strategies to be more aware of our existing habits. The strategies are pointing and calling, habit scorecard. These strategies help you recognize your existing habits and know the cues that trigger them. Pointing and calling. Want to become aware while browsing your social media? Then point and call it out loud. I am about to waste another day on scrolling, but I don't want to do so. Doing so will fail me in my exams. This raises your level of awareness from non-conscious habit to more conscious by verbalizing your actions. Habit scorecard. Write a full list of your daily habits. The habits that are net effective in a good way gets a plus sign. The ones in a bad way gets a minus sign. And the ones that are neutral gets an equal sign. Using habit scorecard, we are not trying to change anything, but just becoming more aware of our daily habits. Now remember, How many times have you tried to build a new habit but failed miserably? Even with motivation behind you, still you couldn't succeed. Maybe you want to build a new habit to meditate daily. Research says if you just track how often you meditate or even motivate yourself to meditate daily, you will highly likely fail. The two most common cues are time and location. One way to build a habit using these cues is to apply the strategy of implementation intention. With this approach, you specify the exact time and location of your new habit just like this. I will behavior at time in location. I will meditate at 7 am in the living room. Another way to form new habits is by using habit stacking. Have you ever visited a store to buy a new dress and felt like you also need to get those new shoes and earrings to match it? Many human behaviors follow this cycle. Each action that you perform becomes the cue for the next one. We can maneuver this human behavior to build new habits using habit stacking. Identify your current habits and stack new ones on top of it. After current habit, I will new habit. After I brush my teeth each morning, I will meditate for 5 minutes. Using this, you can form a chain of habits that stack over one another. Habit stacking helps to transmit the momentum from one behavior to the next. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate. After I meditate, I will get ready for the office. Imagine you are studying physics with a book, a lamp, and your phone on the table. The phone beeps frequently and you check it leaving your study aside. What if you didn't bring the phone with you in the first place? Chances are you may still be studying without any distraction. This is the power of creating a proper environment over motivation. You may be motivated for many things, but without a suitable environment, it's of no use. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Every habit is initiated by a cue, and we are more likely to notice cues that stand out. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, make the cue a big part of your environment. If you want to practice guitar more frequently, place your guitar stand in the middle of the living room. If you want to drink more water, fill up a few water bottles each morning and place them in common locations around the house. Stop thinking about your environment as filled with objects. Start thinking about it as filled with relationships. For one person, his couch is the place to read. For another, the couch is where she watches Netflix. But you can train yourself to link a particular habit with a particular context. It is easier to change habits in a new environment because you are not fighting against the old cues. Create a separate space for work, study, exercise, entertainment, and cooking. Remember, one space, one use. There are many bad habits that we want to break. Suppose you want to quit smoking. You just can't do it with your heroic willpower and self-control. Here, the issue is the cue. Identify the cue that creates an urge within you to smoke. Eliminate those cues and quitting smoking will become attainable. Reduce the exposure to the cues that causes a bad habit. This is the secret to self-control. Similarly, if you can't focus on work, leave your phone in another room for a few hours. Don't forget, the best way to form a good habit is to make the cues obvious, and to eliminate a bad habit is to make its cues invisible. The second law, make it attractive. The more attractive an opportunity, the more likely it is to become habit forming. Even if you have identified the cues required to form a new habit, you will find it hard to stick with unless you make them attractive. Habits are dopamine-driven feedback loops. Every behavior that is highly habit-forming, like taking drugs, eating junk food, watching Netflix, etc., is associated with high levels of dopamine. But dopamine is released not only while experiencing pleasure, but also when we anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. It means the anticipation of a reward gets us to action and not its fulfillment. So we need to make our habits attractive, as it is the expectation of a rewarding experience that motivates us to act in the first place. Let's say you enjoy scrolling your Insta feed but also need to make sales calls. Now how can you make this attractive? That's where we can use the strategy of temptation bundling. Temptation bundling works by linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do. It uses a psychological theory known as Primack's principle, which states more probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors. Here, you want to check your Insta feed but also need to make those important sales calls. Then your process can be After I call 3 potential clients, I will check my Insta feed. Have you ever noticed when your friends use a new slang, you will imitate them too? In the same manner, we imitate the habits of the group that we are part of. This happens because we find them attractive when they help us fit in. Whatever habits are normal in your culture are among the most attractive behaviors you will find. We imitate the habits of 3 groups in particular: the close, the many, the powerful. Imitating the close. Along with a physical environment, our social environment too has a powerful effect on our behavior. If you want to be an avid book reader, surround yourself with people who are book readers themselves. You will rise together. Nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to a tribe. It transforms a personal quest into a shared one. The shared identity reinforces a personal identity. Imitating the many. We like fitting ourselves with the tribe. When changing our habits means challenging the tribe, it's unattractive. But when changing our habits means fitting with the tribe, that's when change is attractive. So, find a tribe that goes along with your new habit. Imitating the powerful. Once we fit in, we start looking for ways to stand out. We copy the behaviors of successful people because we desire success. So choose your role models wisely, as we are bound to imitate them. The inversion of the second law of behavior change is to make it unattractive. When we associate positive feelings with our habits, they become attractive. But when we associate negative feelings with them, they get unattractive. If you want to stop wasting your time on social media, then try making it as unattractive as you can by highlighting the cons in order to stop it. The third law: make it easy. Before we start forming new habit, we plan each and everything about it. Let's say you want to start a new habit to eat healthy, then just planning about it is not enough. You need to actually start eating healthy to get better at it. We need to take actions and not just merely be in motion of planning our habits. The key to master a habit is to start doing it and repeating it time and again. In the beginning, at point A, a habit requires us to put a lot of effort and concentration. After a few repetitions, that is, at point B, it gets easier but still requires some conscious attention. With enough practice at point C, the habit becomes more automatic than conscious. Beyond this threshold, the habit line, the behavior can be done more or less without thinking. This way we have formed a new habit. Remember, a habit is formed based on frequency of repetitions, not time. If you consume healthy diet every time you eat, you will cross the threshold early. Number of days don't matter in forming new habits. What matters is the number of times you repeat it. Out of all the possible actions we could take, the one that is realized is the one that delivers the most value for the least effort. This is the law of less effort. To achieve more with less efforts, we should reduce the friction associated with our habits. The most effective way to do this is to practice environment design. Prime your environment to make future actions easier. We are motivated to do what is easy. Want to exercise daily? Then join a gym that falls on your way to office. This will make it easier for you to work out daily than joining the one that is on another route. Create an environment of reduced friction for good habits and increase friction for the bad ones. Finding it difficult to stay productive because of social media? Delete those social media apps from your phone. This means now you have to open them in a web browser, which will increase the friction and difficulty of opening them. We procrastinate a lot. Quite often we create a roadmap for doing something but never start in the first place. How many times have you decided to read something daily but failed? We set high expectations in our minds, but the excitement of making a change inevitably takes over us and we end up making the process hard. To counter this tendency, the author suggests us to use the 2-minute rule, which says, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The first 2 minutes should be very easy to do. Now, read something daily becomes read one page. This way, you will find it even easier to begin your new habits. Instead of trying to engineer a perfect habit from the start, do the easy things on a more consistent basis. How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Sometimes, success is less about making good habits easy and more about making bad habits hard. This is why we need something called as commitment device to make our bad habits even harder. It helps in making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. For instance, you want to prepare for your upcoming exams but find it difficult to stay away from Netflix. Then cancelling your subscription is the best solution. Here, Cancelling your Netflix subscription is your commitment device. It increases the odds that you will do the right things in future by making bad habits difficult in the present. Another way to make our bad habits impractical to do is to use the power of automation. Use an automation tool such as a website blocker to cut off your social media browsing and get more productive at work. This is a one-time choice that automates your future habits and delivers increasing returns over time. The fourth law, make it satisfying. The first three laws of behavior change, make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it easy, increase the odds that a behavior will be performed this time. The fourth law of behavior change, make it satisfying, increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. When you visit a shopping mall and get a satisfying experience, you are more likely to visit it again. We are more likely to repeat a behavior when the experience is satisfying. A smoker knows the risk of getting a lung cancer in the future, but will not quit it just for instant pleasure that it gives. Again, many people quit gym within a few days when they don't see an improvement in their physique. The reason being craving instant reward. It means what we want is not satisfaction. What we want is immediate satisfaction. The cardinal rule of behavior change is what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. The human brain evolved to prioritize immediate rewards over delayed rewards. Almost in every bad habit, there is immediate reward but pain in the long term, while that in a good habit, there is immediate pain but reward in the long term. Now, success in any field requires us to ignore an immediate reward in favor of a delayed reward. So how can success and instant reward go hand in hand? Add an immediate reward to a good habit and an immediate punishment to a bad one. The vital thing in getting a habit to stick is to feel successful, even if it's in a small way. The feeling of success is a signal that your habit paid off and that the work was worth the effort. Let's say you are trying to stop doing frivolous purchases. Initially, it will be easy, but later it will get challenging to stick with, because when you don't buy that pair of shoes or that t-shirt, all you are doing is resisting temptation devoid of any satisfaction. One way to make it satisfying is by using immediate reinforcement. What you now do is open a bank account by the name, say, trip to Maldives. Whatever you save by avoiding these purchases, you add that straight to this account. Skip buying that pair of shoes, add $50 to this. Keep buying that unwanted fancy hat, add another $50. The immediate reward of seeing yourself save money towards that trip to Maldives feels a lot more satisfying to do. Immediate reinforcement helps maintain the motivation in the short term while you are waiting for the long-term reward to arrive. Making progress is satisfying, and using visual measures to get evidence of our progress adds an immediate satisfaction to our efforts. Shifting a hairpin from one container to another whenever you write a page, or moving a marble from one bin to the next after each set of push-ups adds a sense of immediate satisfaction. Habit tracking is one of the best ways to measure our progress. The most basic way of tracking habits is to get a calendar and cross off each day you stick with your routine. If you work out on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, each of those dates gets an X. As time rolls by, the calendar becomes a record of your habit streak. Habit tracking keeps us firm on our systems rather than our goals. This means now your focus is on maintaining that streak of daily workout rather than on getting six-pack abs. What habit tracking does is that it asks you to show up for that task every day in order to continue the streak. Benefits of habit tracking. Habit tracking is obvious. It creates a list of visual cues. When you meditate daily, you get an X on the calendar. That X acts as a visual cue to not give up and show up another day for meditation. It also keeps us honest about our efforts so that we can be aware in case we go off track. Habit tracking is attractive. Progress is the most effective form of motivation, and habit tracking does exactly that by showing us how far we have come. Every small win feeds your desire to continue the habit. Habit tracking is satisfying. It feels good to see your progress every day, like the number of books you read, the number of blogs you write, etc. Practically speaking, your habit streak will end someday, and there is no need to get demotivated by that. No matter how consistent you are with your habits, life will definitely interrupt you at some point. But whenever this happens to the author, he tries to remind himself of a simple rule, that is, to never miss twice. Consider you are on a 10-day streak of brushing your teeth twice a day and you miss the 11th day for some reason. It's okay, but try not to miss the 12th day as well. because missing your 12th day is the start of a new habit. Again, many of us fall into an all or nothing cycle with our habits. The problem is not slipping up. The problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfectly, then you shouldn't do it at all. So even on your bad workout days, you should at least do something, however small it may be. Putting up zero eats into a compounding habit and hampers it. The inversion of fourth law is make it unsatisfying. Just as we are more likely to repeat a behavior when the ending is more satisfying, we are also more likely to avoid a behavior when the ending is painful. Pain is an effective teacher. The threat of a bad feedback forces a designer to be good at his job. The possibility of losing repeat customers makes restaurants create good food. However, the pain we experience must be immediate for faster improvement. When there is gap between action and consequence, the progress will be slow. One way to add immediate pain to our bad habit is by signing a habit contract. We care deeply about what others think of us, and in no way do we want to project our negative side to others. Let's say you decide to wake up at 5:45 am daily. You sign a habit contract with your wife wherein you promise her $50 as an immediate punishment the day you wake up after 5:45 am. This way, you are less likely to fall off track because you don't want to be seen as a promise breaker to your wife. Your wife acts as an accountability partner and creates an immediate cost to inaction by charging $50. Also, knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. How to go from being merely good to truly great. The secret to maximizing your odds of success is to choose the right field of competition. You need to play the game where the odds are in your favor. If you want to dunk a basketball, being 7 feet tall is very useful. If you want to perform gymnastic routines, being 7 feet tall is a great hindrance. This means our genetics has a role to play in our success. But then, to what extent? Genes do not determine your destiny. They determine your areas of opportunity. You need to identify and direct your focus towards areas that both excite you and match your natural skills. That is, to align your ambitions with your ability. Now the question that remains is how to find a game where the odds are in your favor. You need to pick a habit that comes easy to you. Remember the third law, make it easy. When a habit is easy for you, you are more likely to be successful and feel satisfied. One approach of finding that habit is by trial and error. But life is short and many of us don't have the luxury of time to try everything. Thankfully, there is an effective way to manage this problem by using explore and exploit trade-off. In the beginning of a new activity, keep a period of exploration and gather a broad range of ideas. Once you find a solution, focus on that idea but keep on experimenting occasionally. If you are winning with your idea, exploit it further. But if you are losing, continue your exploration. These are some series of questions that will help you in your exploration. What feels like fun to me but work to others? What makes me lose track of time? Where do I get greater returns than the average person? What comes naturally to me? If you can't find a game where the odds are stacked in your favor, create one. Having a genetic advantage doesn't mean we don't need to work hard. Instead, it tells us what to work hard on. The better we understand our nature, the better our strategy can be. When you form a new habit, you need to keep it as easy as possible. But once a habit is established, it's important to advance in small ways to keep you motivated and engaged. Want to form a habit of playing badminton daily? Playing with a 4-year-old will quickly bore you as it's too easy. In contrast, if you play a professional, you will quickly lose motivation as it's too difficult. Now consider playing against someone who is your equal. Here, you will win few matches and lose a few. Putting an extra effort will make you win more. You will love and repeat this as you have the motivation to daily improve in badminton. This is how you can use the Goldilocks rule, which says humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. Maximum motivation occurs when facing a challenge of just manageable difficulty. As habits become routines, they get boring. The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. No matter what we do, we will certainly get bored someday. To overcome this boredom, we desire novelty, and this never-ending cycle continues, making us jump from one workout to the next, one diet to the next, one business idea to the next. As Machiavelli noted, men desire novelty to such an extent that those who are doing well wish for a change as much as those who are doing badly. Jumping out of boredom will never give you success. You have to fall in love with boredom. If you only do the work when it's convenient or exciting, then you will never be consistent enough to achieve something great. You need to keep on doing it day by day, even when you feel bored or demotivated, and it's this ability to keep going on that makes a big difference between success and failure. Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way. Be a professional. Habits help us automate a process, but the downside is you stop paying attention to little errors while performing those processes. You get into a loop in which you perform a task by reinforcing it day by day without fail, but also without improvement. If you want to achieve mastery over a skill or a task, habits are necessary but not sufficient. What you need is a combination of automatic habits and deliberate practice. Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. With this formula, you have a base which is your habit to perform a skill without thinking. Deliberate practice brings conscious effort required to go to the next level and get feedback of your habits in order to achieve mastery. Feedback is crucial for improvement. It helps you avoid slipping into the trap of complacency. Improvement is not just about learning habits, but also about fine-tuning them. Reviewing your habits on a regular basis gives you that hawk eye view to make sure you stay on track and make improvements. In the beginning, repeating a habit is essential to build up evidence of your desired identity. But to move to the next level, you have to form a new identity and leave behind the older one. Many people find this very challenging. You know that teacher who ignores innovative teaching methods and sticks with her tried and tested lesson plans. You also know that band who produced a mind-blowing first album and then got stuck in the rut. Clinging to our identity makes it harder for us to grow. One solution is to not identify oneself on the basis of a single identity that never changes. Remember, change is the only constant, and so our identities keep on changing. There have been many athletes, soldiers, CEOs who after retiring or selling their company went into identity crisis. They thought their identity would be their profession for the lifetime. Redefine yourself by keeping important aspects of your identity to avoid going into identity crisis. I am an athlete becomes I am the type of person who is mentally tough and loves physical challenge. Everything is impermanent. Life is constantly changing, and so you need to periodically check in to see if your old habits and beliefs are still serving you.